All right, in this episode, Ryan and I discuss diversification and the importance of concentration. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. My name is James Neathery, your host.
And I'm your co-host, Ryan Griggs.
We're happy that you're here. So we're going to talk today about diversifying across agents or insurance companies, diversification in general.
Subject of diversification. The holy grail, the main pitch of the conventional financial services industry, right? Everybody should be diversified. You got to be diversified.
Diversified, yeah. I think that you diversify when you don't know what you're doing.
Are you against diversity? Oh my gosh.
Well, we're talking about money and capital, aren't we? I love diversity.
Look at this. Two white men talking about critically examining the idea of diversity.
Now listen.
I couldn't help myself, sorry.
Okay. Well, perfect. Yeah, we're talking about diversity, and yep, you're white. You're much whiter than I am. So, and I believe that we can talk about diversity.
Absolutely.
I love diversity, except for when it comes to money.
Ooh.
Then I'm not saying that diversification is bad, but that's absolutely what you do when you don't know what to do, is diversify.
Yeah.
All right.
I heard Warren Buffett say that diversification is protection against ignorance.
What? So education would be the solution to diversification.
Oh.
Right. What a concept.
And you might find that concentration as opposed to diversification when it comes to capital accumulation and use is the better strategy.
And if I do the proper education, I'll know where to concentrate.
Hey.
All right. Well, this podcast is over.
Done. Thank you for listening. But seriously, I mean, so how does it come up, right? We get calls, emails, questions from people. Should I have multiple policies with different companies, or with different agents? Sometimes people who maybe they started a policy, pick a number, 2010, 2011, and here we are, 2019. They want to start another, right? Their income's gone up. They're ready to start another policy. Should I stay with the same agent? Should I go with the new one?
That means the previous agent's still available or around.
Oh, yeah. That's a good, yeah.
And they may or may not be.
They may or may not be. Right.
I get that quite often. Same thing, you did this and previously, and we want to do something more different. What should I do? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really a case-by-case basis quite often.
Yeah.
Right? But if I want to get into the infinite banking concept, I want to become my own banker. Right? Does that mean I should go out and buy, different policies with different agents and different companies for the purpose of diversification? No, I don't think that's where you start.
Yeah, it's so good. You got to make sure only to have a limited amount of it, right?
Right. In the case of whoever you're working with doesn't know or isn't competent, you want to get him an armchair quarterback, and then that armchair quarterback may need an armchair quarterback.
Yeah. So you've done your vetting, you've done your homework on somebody, and you're so enthusiastic that you need to make sure only to pay some of your premium to policy that you might get from that individual.
Yeah.
Well, maybe something's gone wrong in the vetting. Then.
Maybe.
But it's a fun, and on the other hand, you could have people who, they've read the book, they've watched our book review, they've listened to podcasts, read blogs, read my Medium articles, all these kind of, they've done their.
That's a shameless plug.
They've done their homework.
They've watched the Banking with Life DVD.
Exactly. Yeah. Pile it up. Yeah. But they've done their homework. They're all in. And they genuinely want to know, well, should I own? Because I tell people too, if you do infinite banking correctly, you're not only a policy owner, you're a part company owner, because you're buying a policy from a mutual insurance company, and therefore you are a part residual claimant. You're a part owner of that company.
Let's undercapitalize a company that we own. That makes sense. I'm a part owner in this company, and I'm not sure about it, so I want to limit how much of my capital that I put into a company that I'm part owner in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think this through and talk it out loud, it's like, ew.
Yeah, it can kind of evaporate. But I get it. I think it's, again, another one of those hangovers from the conventional financial analysis and the idea of wanting to be diversified. Oh my gosh, if you're maxing out that 401k, you better have it in a well-diversified portfolio of mutual fund or index mutual funds. So I get it. Diversification, especially diversity and the culture, that's the rage. That's all the rage today. And it is noise. It's just more of the financial noise. Like Nelson said, if you know what's going on, you will know what to do. Right? But you got to know what's going on.
You got to be able to properly classify things.
And if you don't know what's going on, then you diversify.
Well, okay. How much money are you comfortable putting with one life insurance company? Can I be bold and ask that? I mean, is there a number?
Sure. I don't think there's really a number.
I'm just saying. Their limit, or is it $1 million?
I mean, for me personally, I want to know, when it comes to putting business in force, whether it's for myself or for others, I mean, I want to know that it's a well-run mutual company with a excellent, spotless dividend payment history, right? Positive dividends consecutively for 100 years or more, right? We're narrowing the field pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about it before, direct versus non-direct recognition. I like a non-direct company because I might want to collateralize my cash value in later years to provide passive income. But a whole nother subject. But there are my point is there's certain characteristics that I look for in a particular company, and then I'm going to, of that bunch, of the ones that remain after we've eliminated the ones that I don't want to place business with, of those, which one is optimal? Right? I want to optimize and concentrate my capital accumulation function rather than take a defensive position, and not that, playing defense is bad for, but for the sake of the analogy, I don't want to be on defense and be side-eyeing skeptical of the company that I do business with, right? I want to investigate, do my research, do my vetting, and then of what remains, choose the optimal one. Choose who's best for the job. And I think if you go through that process with an agent who knows what they're doing, then you end up with a very limited set of possibilities. And in fact, there might just be one left over that you choose to concentrate with.
You just narrowed the field again. You narrowed fields to work in. And
so that's, Warren Buffett owns, I sound like a Buffett fanboy. I'm really not, but
yes, he is.
The man owns one company.
You listen to Warren Buffett annual meetings.
I like their annual meetings, yeah.
That's fanboy categories, which is nothing wrong with that.
What I like of them, though, in my defense here, is that both Buffett and his partner, Charlie Munger, are extremely critical of conventional financial theory and all of financial economics, modern portfolio theory, all of that nonsense.
Harry Markowitz.
Yep, the whole deal, optimal asset portfolio allocation and all that. And they think it's all silly. So I do enjoy their take on things. I have to say, though, I think they're both nuts when it comes to macroeconomics. They're both solidly Keynesian. The idea that World War II got us out of the Great Depression and all that, they eat that up all day. I've heard Munger say recently, here we are in 2019, I've heard him say recently that the Fed did great in 2008. They did what they could have. They had to take these extreme measures because no one saw this coming. All of that, no thank you.
Well, wait, didn't they get a sweetheart deal on Citibank or somebody? The convertible debentures at $3 or so. Yeah. I don't know.
Who knows what goes on there? And
well, it's history,
right? So there are certain things they do say that I do like. I mean, when they've and in particular this idea of diversification versus concentration. I can be diversified because I'm ignorant, or I can be concentrated because I'm educated and I know the right way forward. And I think if you read Becoming Your Own Banker, you work with an agent who understands what's in that book and implements it in their own life, practices what they preach. If you know what's going on, you'll know what to do.
So so diversification may not be in and of itself,
good for the sake of it.
Yeah, just good for the sake of it. There you go. But if it's like, okay, can I have more than one company, or does it make sense to own more than one company? Yeah, maybe. Depending on what's going on, right? But not for the sake of diversification. Maybe one particular company is best for the solution. And then maybe two companies are best for the solution. I don't know, depending on what the problem is or what the goals are. But to own more than one company for the sake of diversification is not appealing to me. How does that put one in a better position? Right. You know what I mean? If I have a limited number of dollars to pay a limited amount of premium, should I take that and divide it up over one company, two companies, 3, 10?
How many policies do you want to manage? How many relationships do you want to manage?
Yeah. Well, Nelson, as you said, we've talked about, he owned 49 at the peak of his ownership in policies. He owned 49 different policies. And I wonder why. Number one policy really can't get everything done that one needs to get done if they're going to become their own banker. And the ability you have today to pay a premium is going to change in the future, either better or for worse. If you're young and your earning potential and power should increase. So you should probably buy more policies as this makes more sense to you. Really, no matter regardless of your age, right? I personally think that, I own every company that we engage with, and I think that's just a matter of correctness. And, they're all doing what they do. But I sure didn't buy policies with other companies to diversify. The proper vetting, the proper structure of a policy. Now I can own multiple assets from those policies, so I can diversify in the assets that I own. All right, but I don't want to beat diversification up, but
I do. I think.
I know you do. For the diversification, for the sake of diversification, yes, beat it up. Let's just throw it out the window.
Yeah. And there's also, but on the other side of this, there's nothing wrong where if you've done some sort of financial business with somebody who does not understand the infinite banking concept, or someone who has not gone through the Nelson Nash Institute practitioner program, someone who does not demonstrate expertise in becoming your own banker, there's nothing wrong with initiating a new relationship with someone who does.
Oh, no question.
Because you will hear what's out there a lot is, oh yeah, we can do that. I've never read that book. Yeah, I've heard Nelson who?
I can spell IBC.
Yeah. We can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with choosing an agent or whomever it might be, choosing someone who has demonstrated to you in your vetting and your research understands what they're doing, and you may end up diversified across financial products, but that's different than targeting diversification for the sake of it from the outset. And that's kind of what we want to confront here and analyze.
Yeah. Well, and let me say, you mentioned it earlier, speaking with people that have had, or they own life insurance policies and they've had previous relationships, and what should they do? Should they keep that, or should they do something different? And I want to say that does happen an awful lot. Somebody reaches out and say, look, I've had these life insurance policies or this or that or whatever it is for X number of years, and either the agent is retired or moved on, or they don't understand what I'm trying to do. They don't understand the infinite banking concept. I think I do, and so should I do more with what I have, or should I do something different? And I see quite often that, when you have a life insurance policy, I don't care what the construct is, if it's a dividend-paying whole life insurance policy issued by a mutual company, and that thing's 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 years old, whatever it is, you should probably keep that and learn how to master that, learn how to manage that asset. I just want to say that you shouldn't be out there replacing policies because just for the sake of, you want to practice the infinite banking concept. You should understand the assets that you own. You should understand how to manage them. And then, of course, you should always try to improve your position and your health and your intellect or your knowledge.
And I think
if you wind up buying other policies with other companies and other agents, just do your vetting, do your homework, and make sure that you're doing the right thing for you and your family.
Yeah, and I think another motivation, origin, another source of this concern, this diversification concern, is sort of a hangover from that conventional financial thinking, because in infinite banking, the entity, the source, the individual, the piece that's going to generate, that's going to contribute most to the results, right? The entity that's going to affect the outcome in a policy over the course of that policy's lifetime is the policy owner.
That would be you.
Right. Not the company. Look, company is important. As I went through, we can narrow down the list of the companies that are good to work with, and we can talk about the reasons why. But at the end of the day, it's the individual's behavior, your use, your management of a policy that will affect the outcome the most. And so if we nail down the foundation, the education, the conceptual understanding of what's in becoming your own banker, of what the infinite banking concept's really all about from the perspective of Nelson Nash, you check that box, you solve a lot of these other problems.
No question. When you start doing, when you start actively becoming your own banker, what is going on becomes clearer and clearer. And when you know and you can see what's going on, you'll know what to do. So, if I had a bunch of policies from years gone by and I'm unfamiliar with how to get a loan, how to repay a loan, if I can't determine what my actions are doing to that policy, what the effect of my actions are on that policy, you should, no question, increase your understanding of that asset that you own. But if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the agent or whomever, if you don't have help, assistance, or guidance, then you should improve your situation. You should seek out someone who does practice the infinite banking concept like you had mentioned earlier. And then you should avoid replacement in general, a blanket statement, general statement. But you should master that asset. You should know how to manage that asset. And then if you want to expand with other policies, other companies, by all means get to it, but work with someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's really being able to properly classify things and understanding, or being able to see what is going on. If you understand what's going on, you'll know what to do.
And then things become remarkably simple. I know you given a talk. The title of it was ridiculously simple. And Nelson used to talk about how, look, this is ridiculously simple.
It is so simple.
There's so much noise out there.
You give a financial person enough time, and by God, they'll complicate it.
That might be true for just about anybody too. We love complicated
professionals.
But diversification is just another example of the noise that's out there, and in fact, I'm even willing to grant it could be true. If you're waist deep, or you've dove into the deep end of the pond out there in the conventional financial world, diversification might be the only protection against the dangers that are lurking, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't play in that sandbox, so it's not something that is front and center. But if diversification is on the table, well, something's already gone wrong, right? We've already. Why do I need to diversify? Why do I need to play defense? Why do I need to protect myself? Not that playing defense and being protected are bad things, but if by default we say from the get-go, look, we need to be diversified, maybe there's a base that hasn't been covered in your vetting or research process.
Yeah, at least one.
Right. That's what I've got for you.
Well, listen, fanboy.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know. Look, I did not know.
Go on.
No, I did not know that the shareholder meetings were, televised live, or
some have recorded, some have been streamed live. Yeah.
Streamed live. So
you can go back and read lots of them.
There's
good stuff in there, but there's nonsense in there too.
Yeah. No.
It's so funny because, Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker, there's a page in there, I forget the particular number, where he talks about economic value added, EVA, right? Okay, the guy who came up with EVA, Stern Stewart and Company, guy by the name of Joel Stern, right, went to University of Chicago when Milton Friedman and other Nobel laureate winning people were there. That's where Stern got his MBA, developed the idea of economic value added. You have the underlying idea that capital has a cost. There's an opportunity cost to capital, right? Warren Buffett has had a relationship with Joel Stern in the past. There's talks on YouTube, you can find them, where Stern will mention Buffett and all of that. Stern was one of the, maybe not one of the original, but one of the early investors in Berkshire Hathaway before it went vertical and took off. So one of the many instances in which he's done quite well. But my point here is the irony that Buffett gets, by all indications, he understands Stern's idea that capital does have a cost and there is an opportunity cost to capital. So capital is front and center. Berkshire Hathaway does maintain a large cash balance in order to take advantage of opportunities that come, right? Oh, they have a lot of capital so that opportunities come their way. Yeah, so that whole paradigm, right? And so it's ironic to me that they ought to be talking about IBC and dividend paying whole life. All 20 some odd staffers, however many they have at Berkshire Hathaway, ought to all be carrying massive amounts of death benefit.
Well, Berkshire Hathaway, they understand life insurance. Right. They have quite the exposure in the life insurance arena. So, I want to put maybe the link to, didn't you just read what book did you just read on Joel Stern? That's a pretty good book. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just saying that was very good reading.
I'll think of it. There's one book called Foundations of EVA. It's got a green paperback cover. It's not written by Stern, but it's written by a guy that Stern Stewart and Company authorized to use their copyright and EVA and all that. So that's one of them. But,
okay. Well, what else do you have for us, young man?
I think we beat it up pretty good. I'm happy. I'm pleased. Thanks for listening.
Have a great day.